Beyond official records, the vanishing of Greenland's Viking settlements. Over 1,000 years ago, a group of Norse settlers arrived on the shores of Greenland. Against the odds, they built homes, farms, and churches, creating a thriving colony on the edge of the known world. But centuries later, they vanished. No bodies, no final message, just silence and empty settlements, swallowed by time and ice. What happened to the Vikings of Greenland? Did they perish? Were they forced to flee? Or did something else drive them into oblivion? The tale of Greenland's Norse settlements begins with one man, Erik the Red, a fierce warrior, an explorer, and an outlaw. Banished from Iceland for murder, Erik the Red had two choices: fade into obscurity or find new lands. And so in 982 AD, he set sail into the unknown and discovered Greenland. He returned to Iceland with tales of a fertile, untouched land, naming it Greenland, perhaps as a way to entice settlers. And it worked. By the year 1000, hundreds of Norsemen had followed him, building what became the eastern and western settlements. It was a daring gamble. Greenland was harsh, unforgiving. But for 400 years they survived. Until they didn't. Unlike the raiders of legend, the Norse in Greenland were not warriors. They were farmers, traders, and seafarers. Walrus ivory was their lifeline. With it, they traded for essential goods: iron, timber, grain. Greenland offered little else. But this trade was fragile. Greenland's isolation meant that one disaster, a failed harvest, a lost ship, could be catastrophic. And then, everything began to change. Around the 14th century, the Earth's climate began to shift. Temperatures dropped. Glaciers advanced. Winters grew longer, harsher. The warming period that had made Viking life possible was over. We see clear evidence of a temperature drop during this period. It wasn't sudden, but for the Greenland Norse, who relied on fragile farmland, it was devastating. As their crops failed, they turned to the sea, relying more on hunting seals and fishing. But the ocean, too, became unpredictable. But climate was not their only enemy. By the late 1300s, Europe was changing. The Black Death wiped out nearly half of the population. Demand for Greenland's walrus ivory plummeted as African elephant ivory became more accessible. For centuries, Greenland had depended on Europe. Now, Europe had forgotten them. By the 1400s, Greenland's Norse were using iron tools that had been repaired over and over again, because no new supplies were arriving. Then they were gone. No graves, no final message, only empty settlements. Theory 1. Did the Norse starve? Evidence. Skeletal remains show malnutrition, but some survived longer than expected. Theory 2. Did they migrate? Evidence. Did some flee to North America or Iceland? No written record exists. Theory 3. Did they integrate with the Inuit? Evidence. Inuit oral traditions mention outsiders, but no confirmed intermarriage evidence. Recent studies attempt to solve the mystery, but one thing remains certain. The Greenland Norse did not die in battle. They faded into history. The Norse survived in one of the harshest landscapes known to man for over 400 years. But in the end, even the greatest explorers of their age could not escape the forces of nature and time.